Alrighty, everybody. Welcome back. This is Rusty here with the Rugby Review. And this week, we are going to be going through the fifth and final round of the Six Nations Rugby Tournament. So here is the game schedule for round 5. All games were played on March 14th, which is pretty typical. Typically with the Six Nations, round 5, all games are played on the exact same day, which is usually a Saturday, and it is dubbed Super Saturday. So Super Saturday this year kicked off with Ireland versus Scotland, which was followed by Wales versus Italy, and the third and final game of the day was France versus England. So here are the results of the final round. Game 1, played between Ireland and Scotland, saw Ireland winning the game by a score of 43-21. Second game of the day, Wales finally pulled out the victory. They kept that positive momentum rolling from rounds 3 and 4. And Wales was able to secure the victory over Italy by a score of 31-17. Last but not least, one of the best rugby games I've seen in a little while, France versus England, with France winning by a score of 48-46. Now let's deep dive a little bit more into each game. And the first game we're looking at is the Ireland versus Scotland game, in which the scoreline kind of doesn't do it a little bit of justice, because this game was much, much closer for the first 60 minutes of the game. And then the last 20 minutes, the physicality and the accuracy of the Irish, I think, just wore the Scottish rugby team down, which then allowed Ireland to extend their lead and really make this kind of a blowout by the end. So again, this was a strong physical game between both teams, but Ireland just happened to be the much more accurate team. Ireland did a much better job of taking advantage of scoring opportunities when they had them. And I think all of that physical pressure that Ireland exerted on Scotland, again, just wore down Scotland, and Scotland ran out of steam in the last 20 minutes, which again allowed Ireland to extend that lead. And what I wanted to look in a little closer at is just tackles made. 227 tackles made for Ireland, 161 tackles made by Scotland. Again, just to emphasize how physical of a game this was from both teams. Both teams had to put in a very big shift defensively, had to be very physical during the course of this game. And so, it was a good victory by Ireland, very strong victory. It's a good way to end the Six Nations tournament. Ireland did everything that they could to put themselves in the best position possible to win. If I was Scotland, I would be obviously a bit upset because we lost the game, but at the same point in time, Scotland's destiny was in their own hands. So, again, if I was playing for Scotland, I would feel like we kind of let ourselves down a little bit, didn't take advantage of an opportunity we had, but is what it is. That's the lovely life of sports. Sometimes it doesn't end the way you want it to. So, again, good finish to the Six Nations tournament for Ireland and Scotland. Most certainly, if I was a Scottish player, I'd be thinking about this game a lot until next year's Six Nations tournament. Now, game 2 of our Saturday games was a really good game between Wales and Italy. This was probably the best game I have seen Wales rugby play for quite some time. Wales has been going through, I understand, a tough patch. I don't know all the details about it, but I do know that Wales has had a tough patch as far as high-level rugby competition goes, and it was really nice to see Wales kind of get their feet back underneath them during the course of this tournament. Round 3, round 4, they had played really well, had a lot of good momentum coming into this round. And so, again, for me, it was just kind of nice to see Wales play really well, especially against an Italian team that had been playing really great this entire tournament. So, this is, again, a very dominant performance by Wales. The scoreline doesn't really say that, nor does the stat sheet, but this was a hugely dominant performance by Wales. And, Italy was able to kind of climb back into it a little bit to kind of make the scoreline not look that bad. But Wales was able to play a full 80 minutes, secure a very strong victory, and end the Six Nations on a really good high note. And the only thing that I could really tell looking at the stat sheet here, or the stats that I pulled, was penalties conceded. Now, again, this is a bit of a stretch because there wasn't that big of a difference between the penalties conceded for each team. Wales had 7 penalties conceded. Italy had 10 penalties conceded. Not a big difference at all. And it is a bit of a stretch to say that is, the reason why the scoreline was the way that it was, because it's really not. But that was the only thing I saw where Wales had a slight obvious advantage other than defenders beaten. But anyway, really strong victory by Wales. Really great to see them finish a game and play a strong game start to finish. Again, a little disappointing for Italy, I would imagine. They started off really strong, had a really great first week, had other great games that they played throughout this competition. But again, there's always next year, so we'll see how these teams, play throughout the summer, play in their domestic professional leagues, and we'll see. Maybe Wales and Italy will finish 1 and 2 next year. Who knows? And so let's move on to the third and final game here. This was by far one of the best games I have seen in a while. This was a hugely back and forth game between both teams. If I remember correctly, France started scoring first, and then England got back in, and it was just a constant back and forth till literally the 80th minute of the game, where England conceded a penalty, and France was able to take advantage and have the last scoring opportunity and converted a penalty kick. Won the game, secured the Six Nations title. But again, this was a really, 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 really fun game to watch. You don't get to see too many games like this, almost 100 points scored in 80 minutes. If there's ever a game to get somebody interested in watching rugby, this game probably would be a good one to show them. With all of that being said, what I wanted to zoom in on here is post-contact meters, defenders beaten, plus clean breaks. And all of them are in favor of France, interestingly enough, and despite having all of those offensive stats in favor of the French team, it didn't really give them much of an advantage during the course of the game because, again, as you can imagine, England defensively was able to create some turnovers here and there and then take advantage and score on those opportunities. But, again, despite the offensive stat advantages, didn't really lead to much of an advantage for the French, and it was a war of attrition. You just had to hold on to the very end and do the best you could across the entire 80 minutes. So with all of that said, great win for France. Bittersweet loss for the English rugby team here. You never like losing a close one, and England probably didn't play as well as they thought they were going to during the course of this tournament. But as I've been saying with everything else, we'll see how they play over the summer, and then they'll get another opportunity, with next year's Six Nations. So again, with all of that said, I'd like to say congratulations to the French rugby team for securing back-to-back Six Nations rugby titles. I mean, it looked like they were going to run away, looked like France was going to run away with it after a dominant first week or round one performance against the Irish. But again, it came down to the last week, the last minute, and France definitely had to earn this championship this year, to say the least. And so let's just take a peek at the final ladder of the tournament. So on the left side of the screen is the table for round 4, and then on the right side of the screen is the final table after round 5's results. And as we can see, France has maintained their leader position on top of the live ladder for essentially the entire tournament. We have Ireland finishing in second place, Scotland in third, Italy in fourth, England in fifth, and Wales, unfortunately, is going home with the wooden spoon again. However, I think there are a lot of positives for Wales to take home from this particular rugby tournament, given how well they played, especially across the final 3 rounds. So that's it for this week, everybody. Thank you for tuning in and listening. If you liked the video, please hit that like button, please hit subscribe, and if you think you know anybody who might be interested in something like this, please feel free to share this video as well. Have a good one, and I will see you next week.